But first, you'd think the idea of inner city wetlands would appeal to most. Parks, waterways and wildlife right in our midst. But the idea has its critics. Kids might drown, shopping trolleys might get dumped, and trees did get chopped. Kate Evans tested the waters.
Tucked away in the suburbs of the inner north are pockets of watery wilderness. And while they might look calm and peaceful, the debate over Canberra's urban wetlands project is anything but.
Certainly it adds biodiversity, so it creates habitat into the suburb, much nicer than the concrete channel.
We've got a very inappropriate sort of dam there with its dangers.
It improves property values, it improves residential amenity. It really is a win-win-win type of project.
So we have lost what is tangible and exists and was very much appreciated, beautiful tall trees for a hypothetical and minuscule effect on water quality in Lake Burley-Griffin.
Strung along Sullivan's Creek in the suburbs of O'Connor, Dixon and Lyneham is a network of man-made wetlands in various stages of construction. One site was completed this year and work has just started on several more. But what will they look like once they're well established? Well, here's one we prepared earlier. The David Street wetland behind the O'Connor shops was built as a demonstration 10 years ago. Malcolm Leslie was involved in its design.
Well, I was part of the Sullivan's Creek catchment group that was responsible for setting up this wetland. I was responsible for the design as an engineer. I was also here at the community planting day with my daughter, who was 10 at the time, and I can remember planting these trees here, which were only this high at the time, and as you can see, they're now right up 10 or 12 metres high. So this wetland is designed to take stormwater out of the concrete channel and the local catchment into the wetland to slow the stormwater down, to let the suspended solids drop out, to let the plants absorb some of the nutrients in the water. So this is the outlet of the wetland. The water's diverted into the wetland further upstream, spends time in the wetland, is cleaned by the plants, comes out cleaner than before.
This wetland was built on the initiative of Mr Leslie's community group and was partly funded by the corporate sector. But the ACT government has now embraced the concept.
It has taken a while. So the plans for Banksia Street were approved probably 7 years ago, and it's only being funded now. So it's taken a little while, but I think, credit to the government to finally get on board.
And inner north residents are seeing a flurry of construction. The Environment Minister says the wetlands will alleviate a number of ongoing problems.
There's two key reasons. The first is to capture water that we can use to irrigate our playing fields, our parks and reserves, and not have to rely on our drinking water supply. The other important reason is to improve water quality in Lake Burley-Griffin. It also has some real significant benefits in terms of local biodiversity. The concrete channels we see all around town used to be natural waterways. They used to be beautiful little creeks and streams that had an ecosystem all around them. And we removed that when we decided in the 60s and 70s as a community that we would concrete these places. And we made them lifeless, and whilst they were very good at getting water away quickly, they weren't very good at sustaining an ecosystem or cleaning the water. So really what we're doing is we're replacing what we've removed.
This small wetland on Banksia Street in O'Connor was completed in February after 6 weeks' work.
I'm the coordinator of the Banksia Street Carers Group. So far we've had 3 planting days where the community's got together, and there's been hundreds of people at each of those. It's been a great event. You can certainly feel a sense of pride that the community is taking in it, that they're really there creating something special. It's not seen as a chore that they have to do. There's been a lot of children. There's been school groups come and do special planting days.
But some in the community are concerned about all those children down by the water.
These dams here are wide open and there's no attempt being made to make them safe.
John Holland has several worries about the wetlands, especially the one being built near his home in Dixon.
There's a college nearby and there'll be vandalism around the pool. If you get crime occurring in the Dixon shops, they head off into that parkland area. they'll be able to dump stolen goods or weapons. Antisocial people will be able to put syringes in there.
But his main concern is the possibility of children drowning.
Parents turn up and they've got the toddlers in tow and they get to talk and have their picnics and whatever. Now that's when it is becoming quite dangerous. As well as that, we've got a primary school nearby that has, I think, some preschoolers there. We've got a playground nearby and we've got a daycare centre nearby. So the potential for disaster is always there.
There's nothing to stop the toddler from reaching that water. Any little kid ending up in here is quite likely to slip over, get stuck or something or other. And I just don't buy any of their arguments about safety at all.
The government says the pond's design minimises the risk. Sides slope with a gentle gradient, and over time thick reeds will grow at the water's edge. Local parents too are accepting responsibility.
It's like any water body. I think you need to be very aware of the dangers and issues, and once you're keeping an eye on them, it's not particularly problematic. And I think its benefits far outweigh the need to be aware of what's going on.
This month, work has begun on 2 more sites, in Lyneham and Dixon. They're expected to be completed mid-next year. The wetlands here will be much larger than the 2 in O'Connor because they have an additional purpose, collecting stormwater. They'll help Minister Corbell meet an agreement with the federal government to find 3.5 gigalitres of non-drinking water by 2015 for use on Canberra's parks and playing fields. But that's come at a price, according to some Lyneham residents.
There's been, as you can see behind me, some 104 trees destroyed. We didn't want this environmental destruction on a grand scale.
Lindsay Northrop, a former public servant who ran federal flood mitigation programs and established community land care, now represents a Lyneham community group.
From an aesthetic point of view, tall trees are particularly important. They're good for the soul. And then to see the wildlife suffer so much, it's been quite devastating. And what is particularly galling is that it was unnecessary. It didn't have to be this way.
Some changes were made to Lyneham wetland to accommodate some trees, but the wetland does need to be of a particular size because we're using that wetland to capture water to irrigate parks and playing fields. So it does need to be of sufficient size to do that.
The truth is that we could have had both habitats. It wasn't a matter of either or one. We could easily have had both, but we have lost all these tall trees that were home to kookaburras, raptors and other large birds. And what biodiversity are we getting in its place? We're getting ubiquitous species of ducks and coot.
He also has concerns about the wetlands design.
They're going to build this monstrous spillway 50 metres across and made out of rock, which is going to be an absolute eyesore that we have to see every day. We asked for opportunity to discuss with them options for other forms of spillway that would be more aesthetic. No. We supported the idea of having a wetland here. We thought that was a great idea, one that's appropriately designed and appropriately sized, but we haven't got that. If it's for our benefit, then we should be allowed to be involved in that process. We're the ones who live here. It was a butcher's paper exercise, and I'd call it a farce, because when the politicians and the media left, we were bluntly told there is no possibility of any change. So what does the words community consultation mean to the ACT government? One can only assume that means informing, reluctantly, what's going to be imposed upon us.
My department went out, letterboxed all of the areas directly, convened meetings, we had bicycle tours, we had community fair days, and we attended some private barbecues that had also been organised by residents as a follow-up as well. So this would be a very good example of engagement.
And was anything changed in response to concerns?
Yes, the detailed design of the Lyneham wetlands in particular was changed quite significantly to take account of issues raised by residents.
One was the relocation of the bicycle path, and the other was the retention of some trees. The relocation of the bicycle path, however, was not one of the issues that was high on our agenda, and that was really a public safety issue that the department had overlooked in the first place.
So you important to you.
Yes, that's right. The trees and the water level, the spillway, the sorts of plants that are going to go in instead.
Yeah, there were some people that had some concerns, I think. It's very hard to visualise on a plan, and certainly some of those people now are some of our most avid advocates.
And most residents we came across seem to have embraced these damp suburban oases.
I think they're absolutely wonderful. I think they make living in Canberra even more attractive than it already is.
The kids love it. The kids demand to come down to look at the ducks and to see the birds, and it's a real thrill for them.
Me and my cousin always come down to that area down there and play. Well, sometimes I just sit and talk, and then others we play games around the pond and stuff. And I don't think I could imagine this area without that, because it wouldn't look as nice.